For God's sake, man, do the math. It's fiscally conservative as all get out. Okay, you'd save so much. I mean, crime would plummet overnight. You'd have a kinder, safer, gentler society. What's that worth to you? You take it out of a Tobin tax, all that money that's being spent in your local community, doing great things for your local community, your economy locally, and all going back into the stock market, right? Because people spend, they consume, and the more secure they feel, the more likely they're going to spend. Do you understand how this thing could support itself, self-supporting? Talk about perpetual energy. You understand? It could work. Prove me wrong. Prove that the system's going to break down and all these people are suddenly going to get decadent, lazy, and not want to contribute, not want to be appreciated by their fellow human being. It's totally unnatural. It's an ungodly premise to say the system would fall apart if we had a universal basic income, or that it's socialist, or that it's liberal, or that it's a Democrat idea. Do you hear Nancy Pelosi saying that that's what we need? None of these people, they don't want to fix the problem. You hear Nancy Pelosi saying she's ashamed of homelessness? No, but Trump said that. Do you hear Chuck Schumer saying he's ashamed of homelessness? Or Barack Obama? No, none of these people. Slick Willie? No, none of them. Baby Bush? No, none of them. None of them. I can't stand these people. I can't stand liars. I can't stand evil people. I can't stand elitists, anti-egalitarians, anti-Americans, because egalitarianism is a very American precept, this idea of equality. And this is a good time to talk about equality. Martin Luther King Jr., the king of equality. I mean, he's the exemplification of a good, solid American man. That's all he is. He's my hero. Guys like JFK and Martin Luther King Jr. and some people don't like Abraham Lincoln, but of course, hey, he said some great things. He was a little forceful, a little authoritarian and all that, I know. But, hey, look, George Washington. I mean, we've had a lot of great, Thomas Jefferson. We've had some greats out there. I like guys like Jimmy Carter. At least you could say he's incompetent, but he's at least pure in heart. He's genuine. He's the real deal. Okay, but there's been a lot of good ones. Even Ronald Reagan, remember, he tried to do some good things and tried to put some regulations on the bank. That's probably why they took a pot shot at him. He tried to regulate the banksters. Okay, but then again, the UFO thing is very controversial too, and Reagan starts pushing too hard on that and forcing more stuff to come out because they don't want this. Anything that could empower people with knowledge, they don't want. The evil people running the show, they don't want. But it's inevitable that their time is running short. They know that. And so it's all coming. And so anyhow, Trump needs to talk about the fact that the Labor Department's been remiss. They've been in the pockets of the Federal Reserve Bank for decades now, periods of 10-year periods, so 55 years plus, that they have not been giving commensurate, proportional, equivalent, realistic cost of living adjustments to minimum wage workers. And this was not by accident, wasn't by incompetence, it was by deliberate. They can't cheat you. They can't steal your laborers unless they do this. Okay, if employers say, hey, wait a minute, I don't want to have to by law pay my employees more, so let's fix this. If there's some real shortage, okay, a disruption in the supply chain, let's get to the bottom of it and end it so we can keep this trajectory going to where our money keeps increasing in worth, not decreasing in worth. Okay, that's what we want to see. So I know what I'm talking about here. I know how they did this to us, and we all have to know it. We have to know we're cooked frogs. The analogy of putting the frogs in the pot. They did this when they murdered JFK. Well, we plunked them in, so we don't revolt. They don't know who to revolt against. So, this is good, but we got to, let things simmer down for a while. So they had to act slowly. We had some distractions. We had the Vietnam War going on and all that crap. So huge distraction there, moneymaker, and you get more power and control for these elitist scum that run the world, steering the ship of fools. Move the Overton window. Look up that term if you don't know it. And normalize, more and more madness. Just keep pushing the envelope, kicking the can down the road, and keeping that trajectory in the direction they want. Death and destruction for the people. They want to wreck up the show. So you understand why they want to make people poor. For one thing, they get more rich. They get more power and control. But that way, the pretext, okay, the context is that they don't want people to be able to burn energy. They can't, if everybody, like Obama, he spelled it out when he was over in Africa. He said, look, we can't have everybody in the world running air conditioners and driving cars. The planet would overboil. So they mean business. This is the whole idea behind deliberately imposing austerity, poverty on the public. You understand? Is that if you're poor, you can't afford to burn energy. You understand? So your carbon footprint is small. So this is their game plan. This is the objective. They've got to increase it, so they need people to start dying, and they are dying. So what they're doing is they've actually normalized genocide. It's happening right under our nose. Okay, right now, with innocent people dying out in the cold in America. America, supposed to be the exemplification, the epitome of a land of milk and honey. And look what they've done. They've normalized it. So well, they're just lazy. They're drug addicts. They're drunks. They're hobos. We'll make fun of them. They're trailer trash. They're whatever. They're just non-people. They dehumanize people. They go to church on Sunday and they call themselves Christians. Yet Jesus said, "I am the least of men," right? To paraphrase what he said, "Whatsoever you do or fail to do." And we often forget the things we're failing to do. It's not something, "Oh, I'm charitable, I give to this and that." No. What are you failing to do? Are you failing to understand the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? To really take the blinders off and admit how far down this rabbit hole to hell we have all fallen as a nation in America, and how we're screwing things up all over the world because people are looking at us as an example. So we're setting the trend for other nations' economies. We're screwing all these Hondurans and Venezuelans. We're screwing it up everywhere. This is so much of what this journalist, this Mexican journalist that Max and Stacy had on the Kaiser Report a few weeks ago, is he said, yes, it was Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton policies in these Latin American countries that screwed it up. They create fiascos. They create debacles. They create problems in the financial arena for the intent of destabilizing things. They don't want things to work smoothly. Do you understand? They want things to be chaotic because this gives them a reason to go in and meddle more and gain more power and control over economies and peoples. And this is what they do. And this is the whole thing. Look at the commentator. He calls himself a journalist, I guess, is Bill Kristolcat. I mean, that guy is the most repugnant. He's the archetype for repugnant elitist in my mind. And I mean, God's calling on me, if I call myself a Christian, to love this guy from my heart. And it's hard to love people like that when I really perceive them as being rotten through and through, that they're really so given over to their psychotic belief system, their evil beliefs, elitist belief system, their hypocritical belief systems, that, I just want to give up on people. And there's a lot of people like that. And I've named a lot in the past, and I don't want to go into a bunch of names right now. But you can figure them out for yourself, that they're just not right. And they could be on any side of the aisle, okay? Just remember that. And they keep taking us on this trajectory. They won't talk about the fact if you put things on a graph, the destruction of the worth of our currency, okay, through raising our cost of living artificially, the inflation, okay, how it's a chain reaction, how we just have to pick on one area like housing, jack that up, and everybody's scrambling. Well, I need this to survive, so I got to get more pay, or I got to charge more for the commodity I offer the public, or whatever combination I'm offering the public thereof. So you understand, it's not hard to understand that this whole socialist thing, the people, the proponents of socialism, this has not happened in a vacuum. Okay, that these same people that are manipulating us are causing the division. They want us divided. They want us to think it's each other's fault, that it's just because of the liberals, it's just because of the conservatives, it's just because of the Republicans, it's just because of the Democrats, it's just because of the socialists, or it's just because of the capitalists that we've got these problems. And they stand behind the scenes, they hide themselves in their ivory towers, right? In smoke-filled rooms. They do, that's where they have their deliberation of how they're going to carry out their scientifically diabolical plan, right? That's their religious, so that's their church, right? Smoke-filled elitist rooms at the Bilderberger Hotel or something, right? I mean, so that's who we know is manipulating us. So don't blame each other in your local communities for homelessness and these problems. It's through the currency debasement that's caused these, and they get us to believe it's good. People think, oh, my equity in my house, the value of my house, it's worth more, and that's always a good thing. And Alex Jones, even, I don't think he understands this. He doesn't understand. Boom, we need a boom, and that it's good to drive a housing cost. Rising housing costs are good. Rising housing burden is good. I mean, come on, man. If you're 100% honest, God will show you that's absurd. That's stupid. Just like a used car, a used house is supposed to go down in worth. Okay? That's the way it is. And supply and demand, look, I've done my own personal research way back in 2006. And back then we had about 3 million homeless people. Okay, about 1%, a little over. 1% of the population of America was homeless. And we could have housed every homeless man, woman, child. With my own research I did, exhausting research, I discovered you could house every homeless man, woman, and child in America and still have 90% of the vacant, available for rent or purchase housing left over. And that's not including hotels and motels. So nobody can tell me that homelessness is due to a housing shortage. That's just not the reality. But yes, more and more people own multiple houses. I mean, God knows. I mean, take rich dad Robert Kiyosaki. I mean, how many dwellings does this guy own if you don't count all the apartment buildings and all that? He has been a huge beneficiary of this Section 8 housing and all his ilk. Okay, so I'm not picking on him. I'm just using him as an archetype. Okay, but it's fair. It's a generalization that a lot of these people are greedy. They're insatiable. They more and more and more, and then they misery loves company, so they want to teach you how to do it. So they're not alone. They don't want anybody picking on them like I'm doing right now and pointing out that this is the kind. I remember Carlton Sheets. For how many years in the 90s was that guy on the TV pushing it? This is it. You just want to invest, man. Buy real estate. And this is market manipulation. They're doing it by these people being pushy and giving you the green light, telling you it's all okay. Throw away your ethics. You got to go out there and get those fixer-uppers. You got to grab all that low-hanging fruit. You got to dash the hopes and the dreams of those struggling young couples hoping to enter middle-class home ownership. This is it. This is, so they've normalized the utter disregard for any moral or ethical fiber in our land. We have no, that's not relevant, pertinent. It's not valuable. It's useless. Okay, it's not going to pay our bills. Conscience and all this, integrity, ethics, moral. No. Money. It's money. I want money. Do you understand? Okay. This is why, I think it's funny, but, whenever I hear dollars, my own way of blowing off a little steam, it's automatically, it's like it triggers something in my brain. Dollars? You hear it on the TV. Dollars? And I just want to bark like a seal, It's how we all are. Dollar, So, like a seal barks to get a fish, but we bark to get those dollars. Everything's about money. And we're sick and twisted. I mean, watch these crime shows. Real life ones, it's money, man. I tell you, it is so perverted what it's done to us. And could you imagine, you put yourself in God's shoes, and you've had to witness this for thousands of years unfolding. What do you think? Are you beside yourself and you're about at your wits' end and say, no, I got to put my foot down. I got to protect my saints, the righteous, the meek. I'm not going to let this go on and let them be bullied in perpetuity. No, my cup overfloweth with the beautiful fury of my righteous indignation. And it's coming, man. It's coming. The day of reckoning, the judgment day is coming to our land. And yes, Trump is acting as a vessel for that. And he doesn't mind taking the blame, and he's pointing the blame at the Democrats, and it's true. Nancy Pelosi, it's so funny. I can't remember this journalist lady's name, but she went out, she started camping out. She set up a tent on Nancy Pelosi's estate somewhere in Napa County. And it's so funny because, it's just, hey, we're illegal. She actually conscripted some undocumented workers to help her out, but... Lauren Loomer is her name, I believe. Laura Loomer. Look up Laura Loomer. And it was so funny. But the cops had to be called, and everything seemed to stay copacetic and peaceful. But she is the greatest character. God, I love this woman. She's so funny. But she does some stuff for Alex Jones here and there, piecemeal. But... speaking of Alex Jones, man, that InfoWars, man, he is being censored so hard. It is so evident, so obvious. So all these people, these evildoers, have to act more out in the open, okay? Because anytime you censor people and you interfere with free speech in America, you're un-American. You're a communist. You're a fascist. You're whatever you want. You're whatever pejorative adjective you want to use. That's what you are when you censor free speech. Okay, we need absolute free speech in America. We could say, okay, the fire in the theater thing isn't okay. That's right. And I think that certain death threats, I think that that's there are limits to free speech to some degree. I agree with that. But what Alex Jones puts out is milk toast, okay? And people have a right to hear it, and they can reject it. But he's not calling on people to be violent. He wants to fight the fight. He talks about being a warrior, but it's politically. So he thinks it's politically. I mean, he's got, to me, too much faith in thinking. He doesn't seem to find the same problem source as I do, like pointing out the Labor Department. He doesn't seem to understand how that could have prevented